Man, the free agency legal tampering period starts tomorrow. And man, I'm telling you, things are going to get crazy. Trades are going to happen. And it looks like the Eagles could be dealing not only Haason Reddick, but Josh Sweat as well, and some crazy draft compensation. And who are they bringing in? Let's just go through the rumors.
We better turn around. Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
These are like scary times in Philadelphia, but they're exciting times because with these two new coordinators between Kellen Moore, Vic Fangio, how much respect do they get? How much on the final word of who they get in free agency is what they're going to get? Is Howie Roseman have the last say? I mean, how much respect do they give both of these guys into getting some of their own players for their offensive scheme or defensive scheme? Now, we're going to be talking about the defensive side of the ball, and we were hit with news the other day, okay? Hit with news out of nowhere, okay, from Ian Rappaport that came out. It said, in summer, the Eagles are having trade calls for Josh Sweat and edge Haason Reddick. Also has permission to facilitate a trade. A really interesting situation to watch on the Philly defense as they rework themselves for 2024. And yeah, we've been talking about Josh Sweat, Haason Reddick, and potentially trades for both of them. Now, specifically with Haason Reddick, I'm figuring he's going to come back if they're dealing Josh Sweat. But hearing that Josh Sweat has nothing to do with Haason Reddick at all, okay? And I know, okay, we know that this defensive line was underutilized, just couldn't get home, the secondary, everything, so many issues with the defensive line last year because more news was coming out from John McMullen that, there was, the coaches had big issues with where the defensive line was at, especially edge rush and the whole entire defensive line. Now, I mean, look, at the end of the day, like we had to fire both our coordinators. Nick had too much power over everything. News is starting to leak out more and more. I put this more on coaching than anything. When you're playing your corners that far back, you're not blitzing, you're running stunts for your defensive line. You're literally telling these guys to line up and just play. With no creativity behind it whatsoever, it's hard for me to blame the players 100%. But we were asking ourselves questions about Haason Reddick. We were asking ourselves questions about Josh Sweat. Like, do they fit this scheme? And yes, Reddick has played the outside linebacker position in the past, okay, and has done it for this system the past few years. But I don't think I've put Reddick in the best situation possible. Josh Sweat, on the other hand, I don't think he's a coverage guy whatsoever. Really, the last game of the season, he had a sack. And before that, he didn't have a sack until week 9. Back in week 9, that's how long it's been, okay? Now, there was more news coming out regarding a new defensive end coming to Philadelphia, okay? And that is Bryce Huff. Okay, now Bryce Huff with the New York Jets. Seems like the Eagles have interest in the New York teams as of right now between Saquon Barkley and now Bryce Huff. Now, Diana Rossini put out some news on this whole thing about Bryce Huff, saying the Eagles have been shopping both Josh Sweat and Haason Reddick for the last few weeks. Look for Philadelphia to aggressively pursue Bryce Huff in free agency. And let me tell you something. We said trading Haason Reddick, okay, would be there's nothing that's better than Haason Reddick that's out there. Okay, other than, Myles Garrett, other than, Haason Reddick that have, double-digit sack seasons, especially with Reddick, 4 years, it's kind of crazy because you really can't find an upgrade over that. Now, Bryce Huff is an interesting one because he had 10.5 sacks last year, okay, 10.5 sacks, played really well, and to be honest with you, he demolished. I mean, he's been top 2 in rush rate. I mean, it's absolutely insane what he has done. The Jet fans really wanted to keep him, and a lot of them are pissed off because this is a guy that's 25 years old right now, gonna turn 26, 10.5 sacks. So you're theoretically replacing Haason Reddick with Bryce Huff. Said to myself and found out that both of them play the same position. You're not paying Bryce Huff a big amount of money to be a rotational guy. You're paying him to start day one in the first lineup. So if Bryce Huff and Haason Reddick play the same position, then it's already telling me as of right now that I think they already have a trade on the table for Haason Reddick and all that draft compensation that you're going to get. Trading Josh Sweat isn't the really much of a big deal. But Haason Reddick is the big one because he is pretty much, these are pretty much, I would say, your top two players on your defense. That's how sad it is right now. I can't even say anybody in the secondary is as good as Josh Sweat or Haason Reddick, and that's just really sad. But when it comes down to it, guys, I think right now the Eagles are going to trade both of them. The Eagles are going to, and the rumors are this right now, is that not only are they going to trade Haason Reddick and Josh Sweat, but they're going to immediately replace them, which is telling me no pass rusher in the draft and the first round pick. No pass rusher with that first round pick. Not Latu, not Chop Robinson. They're not interested in that. They're going to trade Josh Sweat, trade Haason Reddick. They're going to bring in Bryce Huff to replace Reddick, a double-digit sack season guy, which I think is the perfect fit. And he is athletic, and man, this guy can rush like crazy and hopefully does a good job for Vic Fangio. Got to take advantage of the money we have this year and could get more money from Haason Reddick being gone, okay? And now go to Josh Sweat, where they get rid of him, and they can replace Josh Sweat. Who knows? They could go draft, maybe, but if it's immediate replacements, okay, I could see them doubling down. Really, with what you're going to pay Haason Reddick at 25 plus. And it seems like maybe that's the number he's just not getting away from right now. He deserves more money. I understand that. Okay, so if you're literally going to pay Bryce Huff $2 million more than what Haason Reddick came to Philly the first year. $2 million more. That's $15 to $18 million, which is absolutely nothing. And because with Haason Reddick's money that you won't have to pay now, you could probably afford close, and I'm saying close, to two guys. If they trade for Brian Burns, they could go double-double. Trade for Brian Burns. Acquire Bryce Huff. And there are rumors that Fletcher Cox thought that he was retiring. He could come back in the rotation as well. So this defensive line could be pretty damn good. And I think we really have to keep our heads up high. I know, Vic Fangio third in pressures. So last year with Miami. So, we know that this defense was going to change, but I didn't think it was going to change like this much. Where there were, this is new for Howie Roseman. Last year, their deals in. You have to think about this, though. You get rid of Josh Sweat, you get rid of Haason Reddick. I think they get at least a compensatory pick for one of these guys getting, obviously traded and then picking up one in free agency. I think they're gonna get a nice compensatory pick for 25 if that's the case. And you're playing, not only you're getting a need for Vic Fangio on the edge. For two players that are pretty damn good, but you're going to get a compensatory pick for 2025. So Howie playing that comp game, is already in the mix with everything. So you have a guy right now is top 3 in pressure rate the last 2 years. He's really good. Aggressively going after him. The Eagles haven't really tampered, you're not allowed to tamper or talk to these players. Maybe players have talked here and there, it's just the players at the end of the day. But that's been the news on Haason Reddick and Josh Sweat and what's been going on. And, immediately want to replace them immediately. But it could be another word for they sign another guy, they go into the draft and get their top guy. They get a pass rusher with their top pick, if that's what they're doing. The draft compensation you get for both of them, there's no excuse to move up in this draft. I'm like, you already got 2 seconds. You got a third. You got 3 fifth-round picks. At this point, I'm feeling there's going to be a second-round pick involved. I'm feeling there's going to be at least a third and a fourth involved, something. The Eagles can get some ammo, and this team will be refurnished on defense. This team will be retooled, and man, does Howie Roseman make some freaking moves. And I'm as much as Haason Reddick being traded was going to upset me because they're getting Bryce Huff. They're literally taking a guy they're taking Haason Reddick that's turning 30, okay? And Vic Fangio's probably saying to himself, we might need to get somebody else. We want somebody in the building for a few years. Maybe this isn't the right route we should go under right now because there is so many holes with this team. You're picking up Bryce Huff, that's 25, going into his prime at 26 on what, a 4-year deal most likely? Okay, to have him in the building for 4 years at the edge, don't have to worry about it. And trading Josh Sweat is going to make you do another move because, like I said, the money that you get rid of with Haason Reddick, all that money you're supposed to give him, if they were going to give him 25 plus, which was never going to happen, maybe 20 to 22, Bryce Huff is only going to cost you 15 to 18, and then they can go out and trade for another guy. Okay, I think Brian Burns, they could trade for Brian Burns and give him a deal. I mean, they're going to pay. Josh Sweat was already getting paid on a new deal anyway. He got a new deal in 21. Okay, and Reddick, has been playing off of a really cheap contract. He was the 16th, 17th highest paid defensive end in the league, which he deserves more money. As long as he doesn't land the NFC East, I really don't care. It sucks that we can't make it work. I think his age and where they are at with contracts and, for the future is where they're really thinking. And Bryce Huff, I think, is a perfect candidate to replace Haason Reddick for what they do, as better, probably athletically as an outside linebacker and can rush the passer at the same time. But I don't think that's going to be the only move. I think they're going to double down at edge rusher, need somebody for the other side because, like I said, both Bryce Huff and Haason Reddick play the same side. So it's going to be really interesting what they do here because of the draft compensation you're getting back. And, you haven't touched running back and wide receiver. Like, there's so much more to do. And the Eagles are going to have cap. They're going to have draft picks up the fucking ass. And, man, I want to see what Howie does when he has too much of everything. When he has money, when he has draft picks. You don't normally see this. Normally when Howie has very little, he could do a little bit more. He could do a few things. He could, restructure and do some contract. He doesn't have to do all that. Now you can go in, if you're going to go all in, I'm not saying put us 80, 90 million under, over the cap and put us in a hole, but I'm saying you can make some fucking moves here that won't even count for this year. Maybe will count more to next year if he's acquiring guys that have one year left on their deal and have to extend them. I mean, there's so many options they can go. So many options. Joey Bosa might get traded. I mean, Asante Samuel Jr. at cornerback at the last year of his deal. There are, for different positions, there's so much going on. And since you're getting draft capital for both of these guys, and I mean, look, I could be wrong. Haason Reddick might be in Philadelphia. I don't know. But if they're already looking at Bryce Huff and they're going to literally go, and there's apparently a team that's there's already a team out there that's ready to pay him what he wants to get paid, and it's the Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to take a shot. They're going to get it done. So that's all I got to say regarding Haason Reddick, Josh Sweat, Bryce Huff, and, you could be trading both of them for draft capital and could be replacing them for better scheme fits, and you're replacing Reddick with a double-digit sack guy last season with 10.5 sacks. So it's not bad. It's a nice trade-off. What the Eagles are getting in return as in a player that they're getting that's out there, but they have to make sure they get him. If they get rid of Haason Reddick and they can't get Bryce Huff, then they're gonna be in a hole. Then I don't know what they're gonna do. Then they have to go to the draft if they can't get Bryce Huff. Then they're gonna be completely empty. Then they might have to trade for Brian Burns, and they might have to go out to the draft and get a top edge rusher at this point. So a lot going on here. I know it's a lot to process in our tiny little brains, at least my little tiny brain. So that's that with that mess of positive things to come out of it. You know what I mean? So didn't think Josh Sweat. There was rumors about Josh Sweat and trades. I was like, I'll talk about it, but I don't think it's going to happen. Well, it might happen. This scheme changes all we do. This defense is going to fucking change. It is going to be different. And I'm excited for change. I'm excited for youth movement. I'm excited for a new defense. I'm excited for a lot. So pretty pumped about it. Last on my list as of right now, actually, no, 2 things regarding edge rusher, outside linebacker. Now, news has been coming out from James Palmer about Nolan Smith. We got some inside information of what's the future of Nolan Smith since he was barely used last year? He was hurt a couple times, but they barely did a damn thing with him. Now it says the Eagles feel good about the trajectory of Nolan Smith's development. Smith had a maintenance procedure on his shoulder this offseason, preparing him for a bigger workload in year 2. Now, didn't know he had surgery. And if he's prepared for a bigger workload, that means Fangio really likes him. That means that Fangio is going to use the shit out of him at outside linebacker. We got to use Nolan Smith to his strengths. He needs to gain like 15, 20 pounds. And, he's got to use that athletic ability that he has, because I feel like he's got it. He could chase down guys. He's got way too much talent to be a pure edge rusher. Little undersized at that, but as an outside linebacker, I think he will be a complete beast. And giving him a big opportunity. Vic Fangio is not going to delete, what the Eagles have done in last draft with getting Nolan Smith in the first round. They are going to use him, and I'm very, 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 very happy about that. We don't want to waste another year with Nolan Smith not doing anything. You know what I mean? You have guys here. Nolan Smith is a luxury. He could be a big improvement. If he pans out with this defense, God knows what he's going to turn into. So I was really excited to see that news. And finally, we have signed for his 15th season in the NFL. Okay. And that is Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham returns on a 1-year deal, $4 million. I don't know if it's $4 million fully guaranteed. I don't know, but that's a veteran minimum right there, pretty much. I mean, that's a really good price. I think he made like 13, 14 million. I think the last contract that he had with the Eagles, something like that. I think that was before he had the big injury and then the big year that he had in 22. So a veteran minimum, and that's perfectly fine. You got intensity, you have electricity with him on your defensive line. I understand. I'm hoping people don't think it's a wasted space. I hope he's not a wasted space here. He's got to produce at the end of the day. He's coming back on his last year. This will be his final year as a Philadelphia Eagle, but I'm hoping he does a lot more with the rotation that we're going to have. So very excited for him to come back. I knew this was pretty much going to happen, and we were just kind of waiting to see what was going to happen. I wouldn't rule out Fletcher Cox coming back either. So a lot of great things happening. I think we should be really excited about it. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys think of Josh Sweat being traded and Reddick? How do you feel about Bryce Huff? How do you feel about immediate impact, another defensive end, if they trade for Joey Bosa or they trade for Brian Burns or somebody like that, because they want to immediately fill those spots? And it might not be the draft, because they have they're going to have more cap space. They're going to have a lot more as of right now. So, I mean, with Reddick gone, that's $11 million, probably 11 to 16, probably more than $11 million. How much of big chunk space a big chunk cap space they're going to free up right now. So I'm very excited. You guys let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with Reddick and Sweat being traded? Are you nervous? Is it too much to handle? You guys let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for news every single day on the Philadelphia Eagles, and like the video. It does help a lot. I'm going out of my mind. I'm going to go watch TV and do some things while I figure out, how the Eagles are going to do this, because I'm going out of my mind a little bit. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you guys on the next one. Shakes up, follow slide. Peace out, guys. Peace.